Just as ju- just
Yeah,
as a note, there is a um, hearing about the Gilroy internment center on September 8th, proposed and challenging building a giant prison for immigrants in Gilroy. September 8th in San Jose, and some of us plan to be there. And given that they're criminalizing everything to do with objecting to the immigration thing, we may need McEntee services. So
that's beyond my ken. And I had the only thing I had to worry about was if my client would get deported, if I was going to plead him to something that would get him deported, and whether there were agents waiting in the hall to seize him. So it was really a different day. I pity the fool that has to thrive in this environment. But anyway, I'll get started. I was a deputy district attorney in Solano County from the first day of January in '88 to the middle of June of 2000. When I was fired, I gave the district attorney did not agree with a ruling that a judge had made, so he put out a memo to everybody that we were to disqualify this particular judge anytime we got a case assigned to him, and I thought that was kind of chicken shit and really not very wise. So foolishly, I gave the memo to the San Francisco Chronicle. I was foolish because I should have given it to the local papers. It would have made a much bigger splash if I'd done that. But I gave it to the Chronicle. They fired me, and I became a public defender the day after I was fired. So lucky me. And I mean that. I was very lucky. I was lucky to be a DA and lucky to be a defender. Best training I got. I was thinking about the classes, all the classes I took, required to take, continuing education of the bar, those kinds of things. But the best training I ever got was when I was an actor with a Shakespeare company that went on the road. We were constantly on the road playing college venues, and I was performing, and it was great experience, great training for being a trial lawyer because um, you had to love. It trained me to love what I was saying and to be forthright and with conviction. Um, oh, that was uh, that was my training. I became a certified specialist in criminal law, which is meaningless. It's just a certificate you get when you take enough classes, but I thought it would look good on an ad in the yellow pages. Um, so, crimes. There's only four crimes. There's,
Jim,
yes,
before you launch, I'm just curious, how many people do you think, what proportion of either prosecutors or public defenders have worked both sides of the aisle? Do
there's a,
people just get in one lane and stay there?
yeah, there's a few. Uh, D DAs who retire often start defending so they can keep money coming in and keep at it. Very few go the other way. I'd say very few defenders go to um, uh, prosecuting. What they all want is to go from wherever they are to becoming a judge. That's everyone's dream. You do little work, you're well paid, you have a big staff, everyone kisses your butt, and it's nice being a judge. But uh, you know, um, for many reasons, it wasn't for me. Not least because um, uh, you'd have to be fair to both sides, and it was that's hard. And I don't think I was capable of it. But anyway, um,
Hey Jim, I have a question.
but
Are you gonna talk about the case that led to you releasing that memo?
yes.
And you are. Okay, good.
Um, uh, yeah, that the case that got me fired. So think I said there's only four kinds of cases. There's drugs, violence, theft, sex, um, all kinds of enhancements for your prior conduct, for the quality of the case. Now, rate taking, you've taken a lot of money. Um, you're committing a sex crime, other things. So people I represented as a public defender were mostly, well, they were poor. They were mostly Hispanic, and in Vallejo, lots of African Americans. They weren't. Um, they were suspicious. They were suspicious of any white guy in a suit, fancy education. So, I had to overcome that. Anybody does. Um, and one way to overcome it was to put some money on their books. When they're in jail, the jail keeps a book for them. Money they were arrested with goes into the books. Family can come and put money on the books. Many of these guys had no family. They had, and so they had no money on the books.
Jim, your audio is
Yeah,
spotty.
is
Oh,
your computer plugged in?
yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Your
What
audio
did?
is fading in and out.
Oh dear. Uh,
It's good now.
now I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay. The only
how?
reason I had this plugged in is I wonder if it was a battery issue, but yeah, the audio is a little funky.
It seems to be better when you're talking directly at the screen rather than when you're
Okay.
looking down.
All right. Okay. So is this okay? Is this better?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Um, so I put money on their books, and it was mostly they would have money they could call with, to call me, to call and keep the morale up, and we'd stay in touch and visit them. I'd try to
Jim, we're missing your voice when you turn your head to look at your notes. Is it possible to put your
Boy.
notes closer to straight ahead? Put them right straight ahead. Yes.
Oh, can you see me?
No, we can't see you now.
Right, how's this? Maybe this
That's
would.
good. That's good.
Okay. Um, let's see. The defense.
Oh yeah, that could be it. That the notes are in front of the microphone. I wouldn't be surprised if that is what is the problem.
Oh, okay. So is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. You tell the client not to discuss the case. Don't discuss it with anybody but me. And of course, they ignore that. They'll discuss it with the family. They'll discuss it with their cellmate. And the cellmate is a terrible person to discuss your case with because he has an incentive. Go to the cops and tell them things, maybe true, maybe he made up, about your planning further violence. And that's what happened with the case that got me in trouble. But I'll come back to that. But anyway, the cardinal rule was don't talk about your case. Don't talk to anybody in jail. And to begin with the expectation or the premise that the client's not going to testify. There's some cases where he has to testify, like a self-defense case. Most of the time, you should plan the defense around the client not testify because it'll only make things worse most of the time. Let's see. Witnesses. Lawyer has to.
Let me ask you about that. Is one of the reasons you don't want them to present themselves or to testify that they, aside from the fact that they may screw up and say something you'd want them not to say,
Yes.
is it that they probably won't present themselves as a decent, solid white, God-fearing citizen?
Oh, no, we know they're not that. But let me give you an example. When the client was thinking about testifying and we'd meet in jail, I'd cross-examine him if he really wanted to testify. I'd pick out the things that were not to his advantage, things that he was weak on, things where there were contradictions in his statement to the cops or statement to others, and I'd cross-examine him like I would any other witness. And usually, after a few minutes of that, he'd say, "Okay, I don't think I want to testify." Um, so let's see. Um, Lawyers should never talk to any witness without his private investigator present. Because if you talk to a witness by yourself, the witness is going to come back and say, he tried to coach me, he tried to threaten me, he made some improper inducement, and you got a whole nother fire to fight. So always have your investigator with you when you talk to a witness. Investigators are Private investigators are guys who are on your team to talk to witnesses, tell you what they're saying, help you figure out the defense. Most of them are former cops who wanted to keep working. They're joining the fat pension, and a lot of them are really good. You can't function without them.
Is the private investigator working for you?
Yes, well, he's
Okay,
fine,
okay.
and that's he gets paid from the county funds on behalf of the client, but he's working for me because I direct what he does, and he tells me what he's doing, and we plan the next. So
And
uh,
couldn't the witness say that, well, you can't trust what he said. He's corroborating his boss here. They're on the same team. Couldn't the witness claim that you had done all sort of illegal things? And I mean, I think you'd want an independent person as a witness.
no,
Yeah.
uh, no, you want somebody that's on your side, and you want somebody that knows your case.
But
So
she's suggesting that the person that's on your side is therefore suspect and less credible than somebody independent would be.
well, that could be. I never had that happen. I don't think anybody else did. These guys are pretty upright. They all have good records. They have a good reputation. And
Does
and
the when you're you're on the defense side, does the prosecution side have a right to have somebody there when you talk to a witness?
no, no,
Okay,
they have to do what they want to do, and I'm going to do what I want to do. Now, there's rules of discovery. You have to give the prosecution statements of witnesses you intend to call at trial, and I never gave them statements I took from their witnesses because I don't intend to call that witness. They would get all upset about it, cry foul, but I don't intend to call that witness. That's your witness. You may call him or not. I don't intend to call him, and so I'm getting statements because I think I'm going to try to attack him if he does testify, but he's not going to testify for me. Your witness. So um, let's see. Witnesses. Um, Negotiation with the public defender, with the DA. Once you have your case, start talking about how we might settle it.
And
Um,
this is prior to actually appearing in court.
yeah, well, yeah, or maybe after the first couple of court appearances, but as soon as possible, you get the case, you read it over, talk to the client, see what your defense might, and talk to the public, to the DA about a possible resolution. The DA wants to resolve the case just as much as you do. He already thinks he works too much, and this is a case to get rid of. So you taught me a lot when I worked in the state hospital for several years. Um, that taught me a lot about negotiating with the other side, about being reasonable, trying to see their point of view, but being adamant at the same.
Hey, Jim, I have a question. So you've got a list of the prosecution's witnesses, right?
Yes.
So you want to talk to one of their witnesses.
Yeah.
So you have your PI, private investigator there when you talk to their witness, and
Yes.
yet you won't turn over any
No.
your notes from that conversation, and they don't have a right to be in that conversation. That seems weird.
No, don't have a right to be. You're free to talk. This is a great country. We have a lot of freedoms in this country, and you're free to talk to anybody you want, or not to talk. Witness says I don't want to talk to you. That's that. I won't talk to him. But than that, I will talk to him. I want to talk to him, and since it is the government's witness that I'm getting this information from, and I'm not reasonably likely to call him as a witness, I don't have to tell the government what I gleaned from these conversations. Um, Not everybody understood that. I had to kind of drum that home to some of the judges that, we would read the text and I'd tell them what it meant and that.
Are you saying the judges didn't understand that
Yeah.
principle?
Yep. No, that's a lot they didn't know. I mean, it seems fair to them, if he has to disclose witnesses, you have to disclose witnesses. You have to tell them what you gained from witness. Uh, and so they were, it's kind of a lazy attitude, but some of the judges were lazy. Um, ideally, you don't call any witnesses. You don't call the defendant. You attack government's case. And let me pause here and say, I keep saying government. Um, it's really the people of the state of California. That's how cases are captioned. The people versus the defendant. And the DAs would always say, I'm so and so, I represent the people. And Bob Smith for the people. Loved saying that. But they were working for the government. So I called them the government, not the people. And I actually got some judges to substitute government for people in the information of the case or when they'd read the information of the complaint. And I thought that was a little victory. Government, the government, I'm here to help you. The government, just, and annoyed the hell out of them. So anytime you can annoy the other side, I was good at annoying them, apparently. I don't know what I did or why, but many of them found me annoying. Hard to believe.
Yeah, hard to believe from us, McEntee.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the bow tie.
Yeah, that people found that annoying. I got a bow tied from Fred Feller's father, David, a legendary trial lawyer, and he always wore bow ties. And Fred got one of his ties and gave it to me. And it was much like this tie. I wore it until it broke. It just rotted out, and finally it broke. And but I liked bow ties. It makes you look dressy, and it makes you look not a threat. Um, so since I had been a DA, I knew most of the cops and had a pretty good relationship. The Vallejo cops were angry at the DA for something he did or didn't do. They were really angry, and they wanted me to run for district. Now, let's take a moment and let that sink in. Tim McEntee, district attorney. Um, I, I, thankfully, I had the good sense to say no. Um, who would you be as a district attorney? You'd have a bunch of staff who you couldn't fire, who hated you, and might be working at cross purposes. Uh, you don't go to court anymore. You have a big salary and a big title, and you're miserable. So thank goodness, because a lot of guys would have taken that inducement. Oh yeah, I give myself credit for saying I'll never do that. Let's see. The When I was a lobbyist and when I worked in Sacramento, there was a guy, a legendary figure named B.T. Collins. He'd worked for Jerry Brown. He was the chief of staff of Jerry Brown. He made some disparaging remarks about Jerry press, and Jerry didn't fire him. It was still another indication how smart Jerry Brown was. BT used to say, "Who are the most important people in the Capitol? Not the legislators, not even their staff. It's the elevator operators. The elevator operators hear everything. They hear the members talking, they hear the lobbyists talking, they hear everything talking, they know everything. And make friends with the elevator operators and try to get a relationship with them and talk to them." So in my world, kind of an equivalent of the elevator operators were the bailiffs, court, court reporter. Clerks and reporter had, and even the bailiff had great allegiance to the judge. But some of them like to talk, and they could be helpful. Who could really be helpful was the corrections staff, the jailers.
The what staff?
The corrections. They call
You mean the guard, like the prison guards? So,
they
yeah,
hate to be guards. Do not call them guards. They're correctional officers.
yeah, okay, okay.
They're jailers, and they could really help you if they felt like it. You always want to be nice to them. Um, and the cops. When I was a defender, I'd been a DA for 12 years, so knew most of the cops. I got along with them well. Some of them liked me, and they didn't like to talk about the case, but sometimes they would, and that could be very helpful. So there's a lot of value in um, being stupid and listening, and I thought I did that pretty well. And being nice, even in trial where you've got some vicious witness that's attacking your client. You want to try to be nice. You want to think about um, he's less fortunate than I. I like to think that way, and I think
Is 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 that because you want to present yourself to the jury as being a considerate person, or is it because you could get more out of the witness if you're
both.
courteous?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. You get more with honey than what is the old adage? You get more with from sugar with vinegar or something like that. Anyway,
Get more flies with honey.
flies.
If you
That,
want flies, go for it.
Yeah, more flies with honey than vinegar.
yeah. So I thought that was true in real life, and it's just kind of my nature. Although you gotta cross-examine a witness, you gotta be tough. You gotta cut off his. He's going to want to digress. He's going to want to talk about what he wants to talk about. You want him to talk about what you want to talk about. Gotta hem him in. Tough. Um, the let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna present, I think, three cases, maybe four, that exemplify something. First was a case I prosecuted. Was a case from the prison. Vacaville at this time had largest known prison in the free world, the California Medical Facility. It was a prison hospital and psych unit and just regular prison all in one. There were tens of thousands, well, not tens, maybe 6, 7,000 inmates there. And So it was said to be the largest prison that anybody knew of because they didn't know of the prisons in China and Russia, but they thought it was the largest prison in the free world. So I prosecuted cases from the prison. Sounds like, dangerous and hard, but most of the cases were something like the inmate threw feces on a guard. It's called gassing. Or there was a fight, or the inmate threatened the guard. They weren't real high profile, sensational cases. But by luck, I got a homicide from the prison. It involved a lover's triangle among inmates. Uh, the inmate Sutton, whose name was Jennifer, who was undergoing sex transition, um, was one. The inmate called Sugar Man was another. He was a violent offender from Los Angeles. And then the inmate named, whose name was Malik, was the third. Um, it was as I say, a lover's triangle. Malik and Sugar Man were enamored of Jennifer, or Jeffrey. Uh, Malik ended up stabbing Sugar Man with such force that the knife, when it was finally found, was half as long as the wound was deep. In other words, he stabbed him so hard, the knife went in so far that it collapsed the chest, and the depth of the wound to the heart, directly to the heart, was longer than the knife was. Um, the victim fell back on his bunk, on his back, pumping out blood. The floor of the cell was like a little pond of blood. Um, the investigator who was sent out there from the DA's office took a look at the scene, walked out of the prison, walked to his car, took off his shoes, left his shoes there because they were covered in blood, and left. This was at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. People dimly understood what AIDS was, and but all of these inmates were infected with AIDS. Um, so I had this case. The DA investigators and I set up some bugging, surreptitious surveillance of the inmates, which is permissible. If anybody wants to know why, I can tell them.
You're
But
still a DA at this point? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so
Okay.
I'm prosecuting these guys.
Okay.
You can set up this surreptitious recording stuff because essentially the inmate has no reasonable expectation of privacy while he's in prison, just about anything. So we got the inmates, we got them on tape. We got the I think it was the defendant, talking about the case, talking about the judge, highly disparaging comments about the judge. And obviously, sort of wanted to get that into evidence, but it didn't get in because it wasn't germane. It wasn't relevant. Um, so anyway, everybody was looking, trying to find the weapon that the inmate had used to commit the stabbing. And I was assigned to the case at about this point, and I met with the guards, with the correctional officers. We went over it, over it, and over it. And finally, one of them told me, and all the time they're still looking for the weapon. Finally, one of them told me that the inmate who was suspected of the murder had been placed in the correctional officer's office briefly while they were trying to separate everybody, and then taken out of it. Nobody had mentioned in any report that the inmate had been to that office. So when when I was told this, obviously, we went back and searched the office, and under a file cabinet, we found the knife. The knife was a piece of metal that had been taken out off of the bottom of a bunk and then ground on the floor, back and forth to make a point. And that's the weapon that the inmate used to stab the other inmate. Um, so that was my first case, my first big case, my first murder case. And nobody wanted it. People didn't like to go to the prison. They didn't like the prison. They didn't like the guards. They didn't like prison cases. Nobody cares. It's just some inmate killing another inmate. So, I was new at it, and they gave the case to me, and I was happy to have it. I worked it pretty hard, and the guy was convicted.
Hey,
Um,
Jim,
yeah,
were there fingerprints on the weapon?
never fingerprints. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. There's never fingerprints ever anywhere. In this case, the surface, yeah, you need a smooth, shiny surface, and you need good conditions like no moisture, not too much sweat, and you need the perpetrator to grab it in the right way so that he'll leave a fingerprint. So in this case, as in most, there were no fingerprints. Um, so let's see. The went to trial. It was a grueling trial that went on forever. Um, I recall during the trial going up skiing with Feller somewhere, and yeah, and going skiing. But the case took a long, long time, um, and they finally convicted the guy, and so that was a big win. Now, as a defender, the case the case I'll pick out. I had many cases. I probably tried about 200 cases, both as a DA and as a defender. So, but the case I'd choose as a defender was a gang attempted murder case. My client was the shot caller, the kingpin, a woman, and her name was La Senora, woman. She was very formidable and a menace. So um, the we I get the criminal complaint, and they have and I get the police reports, and the police reports all make out a pretty good case for attempted murder and assault with enhancements, violent assault, lots of pretty heavy charges. But that's the police report. But the complaint only charged an assault or two. In other words, much less than what she could have been charged with. So I met with the client, talked to her about this idea I had, and finally convinced her to do it. We made our first court appearance, which is called an arraignment. An arraignment is when the client is advised of the charges, uh, advised of his right to counsel, right to silence, blah, 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 and enters a plea. If he has a lawyer, he enters a plea. If he doesn't have a lawyer, one is appointed, and he enters a plea. And he always pleads not guilty and waives formal reading and advisement of rights. Time is waived. Set it down for the next hearing. So I told my client what I thought we should do. And we get up there, and I'm saying, um, we waive formal reading and advisement of rights, we waive this and waive that. Client pleads guilty. And everybody was shocked. And the DA actually called her boss and said, can he do that? Can he plead guilty at an arraignment? Nobody ever pleads guilty in an arraignment. but I knew that they were going to fix this mistake that they had made. And I knew that if she entered a plea to this, she'd be in jeopardy. Twice in jeopardy means she could never be prosecuted for anything else that happened around this event. So I don't know if I'm clear on that. Is that clear? What, the idea of double jeopardy? Anybody? Okay. Um,
Are you saying that they made a mistake and charged her with not what they could have charged her with,
they
and you
made,
figured they're gonna figure that out, and so you have her plead guilty,
yeah,
and then it'll be done.
that's right. If she pleads guilty and they try to amend the complaint and bring it back, she'd be twice in jeopardy. And that prosecution would be barred. Couldn't do it.
Oh,
So,
that's pretty clever, McEntee. You're
oh,
just
oh,
you took advantage of their oversight. Am I correct?
yes. And I took advantage of their lawyer, the DA on the case, not reading the complaint. And I took advantage of the secretary, whoever it was who generated the complaint, having made a mistake. Um, and I have an idea of how they made it, but I don't really know if that happened. But this was a kind of a bold stroke to plead guilty at arraignment. Like I said, it was so unusual that the DA signed to the case, called her boss. I could hear her asking if I could do that. I was allowed to plead somebody guilty at an arraignment. And so the answer was yes, of course. He's guilty of aggravated assault, but not of attempted murder and all the other stuff the enhancements and all the other stuff they should have. And so he got, as I recall, La Senora got, I think it was 12, not me, no, about 8 years she got for this attempted murder.
Well, you must have, like, I'm thinking you must have been pretty persuasive in explaining this situation to her,
He,
because she is.
he got it pretty quickly. I had
Oh,
to
she
do
did.
I had to do some persuading, but she got it. And by dint of explaining it and then explaining it again and explaining it clearly, she understood. And the case against her was going to be strong according to the police report. So and she, we went over the police report, and she understood what that meant, and she understood that what was in the police report was essentially true, and probably go down, and then she'd get life in prison. So she
Oh,
was smart enough to, to
What
figure
would
that out.
her sentence have been, Jim, if she had been convicted of the full charges? How much time did you save her by this?
Well, she would have gotten life. There would have been a determinate term that she would have had to serve, and then she would have started. Uh,
is she out now? Has it been a long enough time that you don't keep up?
I have no idea. Um,
They don't
it,
send you Christmas cards.
one guy used to, but um, no, they don't. The mistake to hang on to a case like that and keep thinking about it. The next case is not going to be anything like this. It doesn't have lessons. Um, it's just a mistake. You just kind of forget it. And it's funny because it was at the time it was so important to you. It was so important, and it was all you could think about for days and weeks. And then it just um, let's see. Got on 60 Minutes too. Case that I defended. It was called Murder in Vacaville, 1997. 60 minutes too. I had a very small part in this. What happened was there was a fight between some white guys and another white guy who was a friend of some Mexicans. And the white guy lost the fight. The Mexicans won. The white guy and some of his friends returned the next day looking for the Mexicans. And one of the Mexicans stabs one of the friends of the white guy, stabs him to death. Um, Instead of prosecuting the white guy that did the stabbing, DA prosecutes friends, the Mexican friends of the guy, of the victim. So white guy stabs victim. Victim's friends are prosecuted for murder. They're prosecuted according to a theory, uh, a provocative act theory. Provocative act says that if your conduct is unlawful and it is uh, reasonably likely to incite some others to violence, and those others who were reasonably incited to violence commit murder, you can be charged with murder for helping to incite violence. So, friends of the victim prosecuted for murder. The guy who did the stabbing, the white guy, was not. Um, the went to trial. The Mexicans were convicted. They brought a motion for a new trial, and the judge, a Mexican judge, granted the motion. So it was like never happened. And the DA was beside himself. He was in a frenzy of anger, and he put out a memo to all of us deputy DAs saying that we were now to disqualify this Mexican judge for any case, any felony, uh, darken his department, we called it, but disqualify him for everything. He's not going to be a judge. He's not going to have any cases tried. I thought that was rewarding, and so I gave the memo to the Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle. The Chronicle published this memo from him. He went into a further rage. They realized who did it, and I was fired. Um, so that was the end of my career as a DA. I regretted, as I thought about it, I regretted something, which was that I had sent it to the Chronicle. I should have sent it to the local newspapers. They would have made a much bigger deal out of it, and it would have been seen in the courthouse more readily, made a bigger splash. But I didn't do that. That was
Did you regret anything else about that? In other words, had you foreseen the possibility that you might be fired?
yeah, I did, but essentially I did it. I was kind of impulsive when I did it. But I had thought about that. Um, the They never refiled the complaint though, so I have that to think about, to credit myself for, and um, and uh, on the day I was fired, I became a defense lawyer, so that was a good thing. And not only that, but because I had defended the honor of a judge, all the other judges showered me with appointed cases. It got my career off to a great start. I had more work than I could handle, and they were you know, and I won't say reward me, that would have been improper, but they were rewarding me. Um, that was one case.
Because so the judges were in agreement that you were in the right and the DA was in the wrong.
I don't know if they thought of it as right or wrong, but they thought of it as their tribe was being assaulted
Oh,
by the DA, and I stood with their tribe. I think that was more like it. Um, let's see, another case.
Jim, back on this case. So the DA was the one who basically uh, made a racist decision about who to charge in this situation.
Yes.
But whatever happened to him, and then he tried to blackball the judge.
Yeah.
So whatever happened to the DA? Was he ever punished or
No. Um, you know, DAs are very powerful. It's hard to unseat them. They're politically they're not the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed, but they're not stupid. So, and you run from this position of strength. So nothing ever happened to him at the polls. Uh, Now let's
Well,
see.
because also the constituency that he would have appealed to would probably have been liberal and Mexican American, right?
Oh,
Like in other words, not the dominant white. Uh,
well, yeah,
that
yeah. That was, yeah. He didn't want to do that. Right, right. DA wants his constituency is the cops. He wants the cops on his side. As long as he's got the okay, which helped me in another matter. There was a cop in Vallejo I liked, I'd gotten along with, and this is while I was still a DA. Went fishing one day and got in a fight with a parolee and really tuned the parolee up. Um, and the DA was going to prosecute him for an aggravated assault on a parolee. And so, as a DA, I said, this makes no sense. It makes no sense in terms of optics. It makes no sense in terms of justice. It makes no sense in terms of politics. Why would you do this? Um, Crazy. Uh, so, and anyway, the, the the cop who did this, who beat up this parolee, I liked him. He was a Vallejo officer. He had his problems. I liked him. I went to his lawyers and said, if you call me as a character witness, I testify that this was cop. He was honest. In fact, he told the truth on the witness stand, even when it wasn't in his interest to do it. If you call me as a witness, that's what I said. And I'll have specifics. So I could see the suspicion in his lawyer's eyes. Says, why would you do that? Because he was a guy. And so went to trial. He beat the rap. They didn't have to call me. But by telling the cops' lawyers that I would help him, got in even better with the rest of the cops, Vallejo police officers and the Solano County sheriffs. So I thought,
hey, Jim, so I have a question about pleading out versus going to trial. So what percent of the cases you were involved in, either as a prosecutor or as a defender, what percentage of cases actually went to trial versus got settled on a plea bargain?
5%.
And what determined which ones went to trial and which ones didn't?
Well, that's interesting. That's a good question. A lot of times it was the client's attitude. Some guys would say, I ain't pleading to nothing. I mean, they all started out that way, and some of them pleading to nothing. Some of the cases just couldn't be settled. Her case was can't be settled. Uh, be settled.
You're fading out again, Jim.
I don't know. How's this? You hear me better?
Yes, a little better.
You can put your notes up on your screen to the side of the camera hole. And you won't be covered up, but they won't be in the way of your microphone.
I don't know what
I don't
can't-
think it has anything to do with his microphone.
You
Yeah.
don't
I think
think
it's I think it's his internet connection.
Yeah.
It's odd because McEntee and I have been trying to work on this, and this particular problem with the audio hasn't raised its ugly head. We were just worried about freezing, and he hasn't been freezing, but the audio is a new problem that saved itself for our meeting today. So I'm really baffled about how to deal with it.
Well, I'll just try to speak even louder than normal. How's that?
Well,
That's better.
what you might try is turning off your video.
Turning
Turn
off your video.
Yeah.
off
And
my-
your network has fewer packets to switch back and
How's that?
Sounds fine.
Is that better?
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah, keep talking.
yeah.
That is better.
Barry, what'd you say?
Keep talking.
Okay, talk about what? You mean talk
Whatever
about my
you keep going.
Oh, keep going. Okay. All right. So, all right, that was a case of Black Casper. I had a client, he had he was in some trouble. He told his cellmate he wanted to eliminate the witness. Three witnesses, child, woman, man, wanted them eliminated. They wouldn't testify. They'd save him a couple of years in prison. Um, and I got this case because the player who had it conflict pattern. Before he got it.
Yeah, we're still having the same problem.
I don't know.
Yep.
Well,
so we just as soon see your face because then we can lip read a little bit.
You you were muted, so he missed that one, Brian.
finally, how's that
Yeah,
case?
yeah, we can see you.
Does it make any difference as to the sound?
Yeah, I think when you lean in close to the camera, I think it's helpful.
All right. Ah, man. Okay. Um, well, why don't we go over to Thursday? Um, Pause here. Let me work on this. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, this is probably an okay place to stop. I mean, I've found this very interesting, and I'm disappointed that the audio isn't better, but we got most of it, I think. I did anyway. There was a word now and again that dropped out.
You finish with the last of these exemplary cases, and then I'll know where we finish. I'm starting to tell you about the Black Casper case. Cellmate complains to his cellie about all the trouble he's in. Says, I had a hitman that could take care of the witnesses and he could be out of trouble. Cellmate goes to the cops and says, this guy's planning to murder people. They go, okay, thanks for the tip. And they send into the jail. The cellmate tells the other cellmate, the one that's shopping for a murderer, tells him he thinks he knows. So into the jail eventually comes Officer Darden, Steve Darden. Posing as a Steve Darden is a cousin of the Darden who was the DA in Los Angeles on the O.J. Simpson case. Darden is a black guy. He's about as wide as he is tall, and he's pretty tall. He's muscular. He's got muscles on muscles, and really turns out to be a very nice guy. But he can be mean, and he just looks mean. Maybe I can intimidating, but they send in Darden. Darden played a perfect, perfect, which is kind of unnerving if you think about it. Is it? He could be a hitman. Yeah, I found it.
Whoever is typing, please mute yourself. And then, Jim, say that last part again, please.
I was just talking about
Tony.
Yeah, I stopped.
I just talked about Officer Darden and what a convincing hitman he played. And he told the guy, the inmate that was soliciting the murder, he told him what he could do, told him how it would work. And then he says, take the hit, and I disappear. I'm the black casket. That's where it goes. Um, so his lawyer declares a conflict. I get the case. Um, it's awful. It's terrible. But I had a glimmer of hope. I thought maybe I could make an entrapment out of this. Maybe Darden's conduct was such. Yes, trying to have other human beings murdered.
We lost that entirely. We didn't hear that.
Wow.
Say it again.
This is
Well-
important. Maybe we should stop here and pick it up with the story when we have better audio.
Yes, I agree. Let's pick it up when we have the better audio.
Oh, if I turn my head like this, you can't hear me. Is that
Yes.
right?
We actually
What
could.
are you hearing now?
That was good,
But if I say this, it's better. If I talk like this,
It's not.
but not
It's fine.
consistent.
not
It's not consistent. We might have to revert to using your phone next time, Jim. Did you get a new phone?
no. Oh yeah. I did. It's new. It was new. A few months ago.
I'll tell you what, you and I will meet and we'll try to experiment with the phone. I mean, this is a way better picture, but if we're going to have this audio problem, and it may be the internet connection, which means that it doesn't matter whether it's the phone or your laptop, it's just the connection is bad. But you and I will experiment with it.
Okay. All right. So we'll pause and when I plan on coming back.
We'll take it up again on Thursday. We'll meet anyway. I mean,
All right.
no matter what, we're going to meet, and we'll plan on continuing your stuff.
Okay.
And just so make a note of where you paused.
Yes.
And for the rest of you, let's see, Brian is not ready yet, right? Brian
Right, I said-
Holmes, I mean.
I sent you a note about that. About when
Yeah,
I'll
in
actually be ready.
September. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
in
September. Okay. That's what we're going to have several people ready in September, so it'll be some juggling involved. But next Thursday it'll be Jim again. And so the question that everybody wants to know is, what about a week from today? And I'm still interested in Barry and Leslie coming up with maybe fleshing out their suggestions for what they had ideas of what to do on this. And then Anne, I'll be talking to her about. I think she'd be ready to start at any time. However, the problem is that she has sent books out to everyone, and I think we need to wait until everybody gets their books, so that might be a week or so. So this is very high-level timing. This is what the CIA has to do. Leslie.
Yeah. So I had mentioned before, I think a good topic would be flock cameras and license plate readers, and I'd love to have all the lawyers chime in about that. I'm serious, because in Chico, they unleashed a bunch of them, and then the police said, I didn't know they were giving all the information to ICE. And it's made a big brouhaha in town, but there was one on my street. So
These goons have no shame. They're just going, yeah, we want an authoritarian state, and see if you can stop us. That is, it's unbelievable how shameless they are about what they're up to.
well, but I just think it would be good to share any information we can get, and maybe share information about what's being done to stop it.
Brian just left.
Just
Tony,
County
I'm working.
in Oregon has pulled them
Go
all
ahead.
down.
Barry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I could be ready by Tuesday to talk, at least for part of a session, about the thing I was talking about, a follow-up to Otis's presentation about social psychology research that sort of was the underpinning of the advertising strategies that Otis talked about. So I could talk about that a week from
Okay,
today.
That's good.
we'll
That's
have
good.
we'll have that as tentative. We'll pencil that in for next Tuesday.
Sounds good.
And Pilby, you just said Oregon took all the flock cameras down.
Josephine County in Oregon. It's the county next to where I am. We're in Jackson County, but the county to the west just took them all down.
What exactly are flock cameras? I've heard this term. What are they?
They're that's the name of the company I think that makes them, and they're basically just surveillance cameras that pick up. They read license plates, and then they're connected to a computerized central network that I imagine can trace you or put that information on any other state's system. And I just saw a very interesting public service announcement by the Lincoln, the people that wouldn't be suspected of being right wing. They said the announcement was, what you really don't want to do is take a cheap green laser pointer and point it at this camera. These are very inexpensive laser pointers and they will damage these cameras, so you really don't want to do that. And they can be bought at eBay, so be careful. Do not buy one of those things. It's a pretty funny public service announcement.
And the cameras are self-powered with little solar panels, so you can't unplug them or anything. They're just there.
I had one attached to the neighborhood watch pole. It's been taken down. The solar power thing is still there, but what they don't just read your license plate. They look at who's inside. And then they look at all the dings, anything, bumper sticker, things, everything about the car. They feed it into a big database that connects to your phone, and then they start collecting all the people you associate with, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of information about it. So I would like to discuss that.
And they get that information from your phone?
They can get information. I'll have to look into exactly how it works, but this company, Flock, is making tons of money.
Yeah.
It's
So
There's
effectively, they're searching your phone based on
They're,
some.
they're a massive data aggregator, and it's not, as Les says, it's not just the automated license plate reading. That is what cameras collect, the data on the car, who's in it, where they're going, link up all the trips. They can link that to where the cell phones have been. They can link it up to your other records that are being maintained from other surveillance.
And all the people you associate with. And they do 20 billion license plates a month.
Yeah, and just as Davis has refused to have flock cameras, but they've contracted now with Motorola, which does the same thing. And there was a city council meeting Tuesday, a week ago, at which a bunch of people from our meeting and other places, but mostly I think from our meeting, went and testified against this. We've now scheduled a meeting in early September with part of the city council, and we had a letter back saying, well, I was sort of uncertain about this vote. It was one of the ones and gave 4 reasons why he thought it was okay, including that, we have good relationships with Motorola and they won't do anything, and if they do, that we can sue them.
Let's save this for the discussion, because this is what needs to be, everybody needs to know about it. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, let's do that. I have never been able to figure out the contradiction between the right wing saying they want no government and at the same time saying we want a completely authoritarian government. How do they put those together? Who's who's the great mastermind philosopher that can assemble those two thoughts in the same place?
They don't
Donald
require
Trump.
David Miller.
consistency.
It
I
also
think Donald Trump is the answer.
the tech guys who want to take over the Peter Thiel basically and his ilk who
Yeah,
want a tech dictatorship run by the elite, and they're basically behind a lot of what's going on.
yeah.
The technology and they managed to get Vance kind of uh, I don't know whatever they did to it, and so, but it's the corner of the right that is the
Now your sound is bad.
Your phone's ringing.
So he's got a phone ringing.
That's mine.
It sounds like we're deteriorating, and I do think we should save this discussion for the discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a feeling about this authoritarian stuff this morning, and I hope it's true. The Japanese and Germans didn't know who they were fucking with when they attacked the United States or declared war on the United States, and I have a feeling that Thiel doesn't know either. I don't think the American people are going to go for this shit. That's my gut feeling. And I think they're going to be, I'd like to think, it's maybe wishful thinking on my part, but my gut feeling is the American people are not going to put up with this shit.
No one ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American people.
Right. Right. All right. To be continued.
All right.
Okay, guys.
Okay, thanks.